Welcome back. This is Face the Nation. Let's start off the third round with Dr. Sujata Gamage, researcher, policy analyst, solid waste management. Dr. Gamage, what can we do to arrest the problem at hand? There is a dire need to have a solid waste management program in Sri Lanka. What must we do?
First thing is, we have to stop focusing on the wrong thing. We take these items. We talk about the lunch sheet. The lunch sheet, if you take the lunch sheet, that is, I think, one of the most liberating things for ordinary people. Take somebody leaving for work. Leaving for work in the morning. From a lot of cities, people leave for work early as 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, coming to Colombo. In the old days, if Mr. Arjuna has his way, you go outside, cut off a banana leaf, the wife gets up and cooks a rice, packs it and gives to the husband, he comes to work. Now we don't have to do this. You come to work, you take the bus at 4 o'clock, wife doesn't have to wake up at 3 o'clock. You come there, there's a butt packet, thanks to the lunch sheets. So you ban lunch sheets. It's very easy for people to sit in here, who can carry their lunch. They don't have to be rush into the bus stop. They don't have to be, going crowded buses. But it's very much to do with how people improve their lives.
I have to interrupt you on that because
then what? No, let me just answer. So we are looking at the wrong thing, these little things. But actually, the world has moved from there. When we started in the 80s, we were looking at 3R, reduce, recycle, and recycling the plastics. The plastics was the enemy. But now we've figured out what's the real enemy. What's the real culprit in waste management? It is the bio-waste. Just imagine, every day, in your waste stream, you separated your food waste 100%. And the rest of the waste is dry and clean. The paper, plastic, everything is clean and dry. That waste is harmless. You dispose, if you can recycle, you recycle it. What you can't recycle, you can send it to a disposal site. People are not going to protest because that waste is harmless. It's not going to cause leachate, which is nasty liquid coming down. It's not going to make gases. When anything rots, it makes gases. It's not going to do anything of that. So the crucial thing, now even in the European Union, what they've understood is most important thing is to separate the bio-waste, the waste that rots and the waste that does not rot. See, we've had programs, we brought things here, say, okay, 5 colors for 5 different things. Let's collect them separately, recycle them, and we've been focusing on which is only a small part of the waste. A large part of the waste and the nasty part, the harmful part, is the bio-waste.
Thank you very
so
much,
the crucial thing is to separate the bio-waste.
Thank you very much. I now move to Arjuna Salimratna, Director of the Strategic Enterprise Management Agency. I'm not going to pose a question to you, but you can counter what Dr. Sujata Gamage said in her statement. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, I mean, with all due respect to you, ma'am, I think you're apologizing or you're an apologist for a very bad habit. We have formed a habit which you think is a very nice one because it's a very useful one, it's a very convenient, but this is not a habit that is going to give us a world in which we can live for our children. Let us understand that, and the world has shifted from there. The world has shifted from there with the Sustainable Development Goals from 2015 onwards. This world is looking at things differently, and I think it is important that we are not hung up on the past. And we are hung up on mechanisms and paradigms and thinking systems that were part of the industrial era. We are going into the sustainable era, and in that era, we are not looking for convenience. We are looking for continuity. We are looking for sustainability. And in that, if we are going to be responsible for what we do, then our lifestyles slow down. We are no longer in that much of a hurry. We are then collectivized enough to be able to synergize the entire development effort of any nation which is sustainable and into a process, in a place where we are leaving the earth in a little bit of a better place than it was when we took it over. And for that, you need to have a paradigm shift. And in that, you need to be able, that is where the state responsibility is, in able to change the thinking of the people to move away from an idea that a plastic lunch sheet is a good thing. This is something where we have seen.
The thing is, we are not focusing on the right thing at the moment.
That's the point. The point is that the focus here is lunch is not a good. The thing is, that is the problem. The root cause of this is that we are actually apologizing for very bad habits, and we are still continuing with industrial age thinking when we're moving into a sustainable age. And I keep telling this, nobody is talking dump, dump, dump. This is very convenient. What we are looking at right now is to be able to manage this as a holistic system, where we are looking at certain types of dump, certain types of filling, certain types of recycling, certain types of responsibilities. And if someone were to say that the real problem is a sting that comes from the organic waste, we have solutions for that as well right now. And we have been implementing that in this country, where people like Dr. Anwala have been doing human services in this country. They've been taking waste from, I think, the bio-waste from at the fish market, and also from, I think, the Arthika Pola, and they've been converting it into fertilizer, and there's no stink at all.
Thank you very much, Arjuna, for your thoughts in the third round. I now move my attention to Engineer P. Suresh, Additional Secretary of the Ministry of Megapolis and Western Development. What is the future? Yeah. Now, you clearly admitted that there is a problem at hand. So if that is the case, what steps must the ministry take to arrest the problem?
Yeah. So we all must understand, actually, this is a serious issue. So we all should work, right, together. There are two committees, because as doctor says, our minister actually very concerned about this. And the project, actually, I want to say Pilizaru, it was created by him. Out of all these local authorities, more than 50% of the local authorities are successfully functioning preserve program. And only one sanitary landfill site which is created and functioning properly, and all these people are now brought to this point, because people think if it is a landfill site, people say it is dump site, because that mentality should be changed. If it is a landfill site, because moral thinking is that, right? People should know what is really sanitary landfill site. So therefore, these two committees, one is actually one concept paper submitted by 5 secretaries committee, in which clearly mentioned media, electronic media should support for this. And another 5 ministers, actually I will read it, Chairman Sarath Tamanugama, Patali Chambika Ranavaga, Faisal Mustafa and Sagal Ratnayaka. This committee actually recommended very, very valid points. First one, actually, the legislation is not enough, really. So they have recommended now it will be taken, already it is taken up by cabinet. So there should be a change in that. Because now when you talk about identifying land for filling, everyone say, no, we don't want Colombo waste, even including all the medias supporting them. The realistic, actually, people...
You also media supporting them.
A lot of media, a lot of journalists supporting for this, because they see this actually, landfill site is actually dump site. It is not dump site. This is sanitary landfill site or semi-sanitary landfill site.
So Medramullo is also...
No, that's what I am telling.
Okay.
Because this one started, the forecasting this Putlam will be actually finalized within 2 years, but unfortunately it was not done.
We need to leave at that, Mrs. Suresh, for the moment, because we are running out of time. I'll come back to you momentarily. I want to move my attention to Mr. Kesara Gunasekara, former Deputy Mayor of Dehiwala Mount Municipal Council. Mr. Gunasekara, you've been very observantly listening to the two gentlemen and the lady on to your left. I'm not going to pose a question to you. Very simple. What are your observations?
Shamil, with all my years of experience since 1981 in the local authority system, I feel that we need to understand that what we have in our hands is a gigantic problem. It is not that easy for ministers or secretaries to put up reports and say, look here, this will work. Because far back as 1999, 2000, when the Blumendal dump site was created, there was a plan to convert that garbage into composting, and that was a utter failure. There was money paid, but it was absolute failure. And mind you, at that time, composting, if it failed, you think any of these programs that are being envisaged today is going to have a successful day? It's not that easy. It's a very, very difficult exercise.
So you're trying to say that these
we need to understand, if you're going to carry garbage from here to Potlam, it's not an easy exercise. It's a massive operation. As to whether we have the wherewithal to go ahead with it, we need to rethink. Because I always believe that garbage is a problem where the final disposal will always have opposition from the residents in the area. You cannot go on in this manner. You have to come into an agreement with them, get them to understand, and then work out your program. It's not going to be that easy, because don't forget one thing. Every day you lose, you're collecting 2,500 metric tons of garbage. Every day. Huh? I mentioned at the last program that we have lost 30 people, but the problem has started only now, because Mithramul is closed. No dumping of garbage there. Now only the problem starts. So for every day, if you're going to accumulate 2,500 metric tons of garbage, it's not going to be that easy.
Thank you very much for your thoughts.
Because don't forget, even with the present proposals that have been envisaged.
I'll get back to you in a minute, Mr. Gunasekar. We will open the floor for questions, and then you can delve a little bit deeper on exactly what the problems at hand are. So I open the floor for questions. Let's start off with Sonali.
Thanks, Shamir. Arjuna Seniviratna. Now, as a precursor to my question, I want to say that earlier on you condemned the plastic bottle of water on the table. Now, while we commend your individual steps in managing waste, I hope you could appreciate that as an organization, what we're trying to do is to look at the bigger picture, to hold to account policymakers, and to also try and disseminate information not just to one or two people but to an entire citizenry. Now, getting to my question, from short-sighted, selfish actions and omissions with regard to management of waste disposal, how does one go about taking the general public through that paradigm shift of thinking on the one hand and towards sustainable and holistic action?
Two things. One is that this is where the responsibility of the state comes into its own. The state is responsible there to create the kind of awareness and to create the kind of urgency within the citizenry of the country to be able to do this. This is something that the world has decided to do, and the world is not going to change from this. Every science, every mechanism, every instrument from here on out is going to have to change. This is a must. If we do not, we are going to destroy this earth.
Okay,
it is
so
a very simple thing.
What was the state doing all this time?
So the state has been doing this. They started, I think, this was in 2015 that these SDGs came into play. Yeah. And Sri Lanka made some very strong commitments. Actually, His Excellency the President made some very strong commitments at COP21 and also at the summit. He said very clearly that Sri Lanka is going to get on the bandwagon and get on it right away. And they started off with the toxin-free program. Then they moved into the Sahasara program, which was to reduce the amount of congestion on the roads. And thirdly, this year they went into the Sustain Lanka program, all three of which are aimed at doing this. There was a massive amount of support for this from the peoples of the country. And most of the people who did help with these were the people who were doing micro things. We must understand, this is not the age of mega projects. This is the age of either mini programs or, at best, micro programs.
So you are not in agreement with what Megapolis is doing right now?
Mega projects are not part
Are you
of
in
the
agreement
age.
with what the Megapolis Ministry is doing right now?
What
Yes
the
or no?
Megapolis Ministry is doing and the policies and the process and the mechanisms there are things that were set up right at the get-go when this regime took over.
So you mean to say that there is no proper system in place?
I'm just only talking to here in my personal capacity. At that moment in time, because I'm a sustainable development person in my head, I said, you know, the very idea of a megapolis is something that came into being in New York and that area.
So what must
And
we
I
be?
said very clearly then that we should actually, when people should be actually distributing the way in which they live, they should be actually spreading out instead of concentrating, because concentration requires great amounts of energy.
A very interesting thought.
And
You know,
this
you
is
say something very interesting. You say something in line with what the Sustainable Development Goals are as far as the United Nations is concerned.
Of course.
Now, you are representing the government. You work as the Director for Strategic Enterprise Management
I wear many
Agency.
hats. I'm also a key member of the National Consumer Network.
Right.
in Sri Lanka.
Okay. So, have you raised the issue up?
This is
with
something
the
I'm
Ministry
actually
of
raising
Megapolis
as a
and
consumer.
Development?
I'm raising this as a consumer because that is why I'm constantly
Now, have you
referring to
raised the issue
responsibility.
up with the minister in charge?
I think that is something that is up to a lot of people to do. I don't know whether this is my place to do that, because I am actually
You are a
part
citizen
of
of
an
this nation.
agency that is looking after enterprises, right, and programs. We are not actually an agency that has the authority to go and tell a minister what to do.
Okay,
or
now
what
you
not
have
to
a
do.
man himself. You have on your left the Additional Secretary of the Ministry of Megapolis and Western Development. What must you have to tell
I
him?
think maybe like Suresh will be able to answer that question. I think that...
Now, what would you tell him? Is there any suggestions? I'm making a platform for you because you have a concern. I'm making the platform for you. You have Mr. P. Suresh, Additional Secretary to the Ministry of Megapolis and Western Development. What would you tell him as a citizen of this nation?
What I would tell him is that if you are going to be creating these megapolis, you have to be creating these as environmental micro-pockets, and then making sure that those environmental micro-pockets are going to be capable of sustaining themselves, and then you are going to create a larger network of these micro-pockets. This is how I think.
you're saying don't do it?
I think it was Dr. Ranil Senanayake who suggested this. This is a way
So
to do this.
you're saying in simple words, don't do it right now.
No, do it now, but do it in a way that is right. Don't do it
So
with
they're doing
by
it wrong.
simple concentration. Don't just simplistically.
No, Arjuna,
treat
are they
this
doing
program.
it wrong? Are you saying that they're doing it wrong then?
I'm saying that they are going through a process. I'm saying that they are getting advices that are sometimes good, sometimes bad. What I'm saying is, in most cases, don't point fingers at the state. In most places, if you really want to point a finger, then point that finger at the advisors to the people who are supposed to be making the decisions. They are the people who are culpable at the end of the day. Because if they give our ministers the wrong kind of information, the wrong type of information...
So you say that don't accuse the state. You say
Don't accuse them all the time. I'm just saying, you all are just going...
Who hires these advisors?
So they are hired by various people for various reasons. But if the advisor is not in a place of competence, or if the advisor is going to be giving wrong advice, or advice that is not actually in line with the general thinking or the macro thinking of the country,
initially you
then
said
you're
that
then you're in a serious situation.
Simple. No, you said that you can't accuse the government. Then you
Wait,
said
wait. Hold on.
the citizens have to be accused for
Hold on,
what is
hold
going
on.
wrong.
I said don't point the finger only at the government.
Only
Don't
at
put
the
words in my
government.
mouth.
Okay.
I said
So you
don't
said don't
point fingers only at the government.
at the government, and then you say the people are also responsible.
There are
and
many-
now you are saying that the advisors to the ministry.
So they are also. So there are. So this is the people of this
Decide
country.
what platform. Stand on one
Look,
ground. Okay.
no.
Yes.
What I'm saying is
Yeah.
there are these all of the issues that come up for all because you are trying to one point this and telescope it. You are trying to find somebody or someone to lay the blame at. I am saying no. This is a macro problem. This is a problem that requires a holistic solution, which requires a multiplicity of stakeholders to come into play. And those stakeholders are all people who are contributing either to a solution to the problem, or the stakeholders and players are contributing to the problem. And in that respect, I think you have to read this a little bit more complex than you're reading it. You're reading it.
Mr. Gunasekara, what are your
Can I
thoughts? Do you
accuse
think
this
that?
person?
Do you
Can I
think
accuse
that
that person? Can I accuse the third?
Okay,
Don't do that.
let's ask Mr. Gunasekara. He's been a politician. He's been the deputy mayor of the Devil Mount Level Municipal Council. Mr. Gunasekara, very simple. Now, Mr. Suresh is saying that we are going to dump the garbage, 500 metric tons of garbage to Putlam. My question is, so then where must the people of the northwestern province dump their garbage to? Where? They go and dump it in Jaffna or Kilnochi or Muletiv? Where are they going to?
I have to interrupt here.
Yeah.
Right? I think you will have to visit this area first.
Yeah.
Right? Before giving your opinion.
Yeah.
You should visit actually. So
No, I'm not.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you.
Yes.
Because if you visit there, you will understand. There are the cavities after getting. You know that there's a flat land when you take something, because almost 13 meters you will have to dig to reach, right? Reach. The calciums. So that 30 meters, 30 feet, almost 35 feet will be removed first and dump it somewhere.
So
I'll finish it. So it will be more than 25 to 28 meters, right? Depth of huge cavities are there.
Mr. Suresh, why? It's very simple. I'm trying to figure out. As Mr. Gunasekar rightly pointed out, so you have 500,
not 500, 1,200.
1,200 metric tons of garbage being transported from Colombo to Putlam.
Yeah, not only Colombo to Putlam. What I am saying is actually.
So you are saying it's going to be dumped in Putlam. Then how is it going to be transported?
It is not dumping. Actually, that's what.
Okay, right. It's not dumping. It's about
it is
recycling.
A sanitary landfill.
Sanitary landfills. How are you going to take the garbage from Colombo to Putlam?
Yeah.
How are you going to take the garbage from Colombo to Putlam?
Yeah, that's what I told you, because you will have to support us. You will have to actually, one day our team will have to come and present it. Oh, you have to come to our ministry, we will present.
How are you going to transport it?
In the transport by trail. There are three
transport by
trail, 1,200, right? More than 25 meters you can actually fill waste to bring the ground up to the normal level, right? Not only from Colombo, even all over the cities you can transport more than 30. Not only now, because another 25-30 years they are going to do the work. So you can fill that. Just what they do is actually they dig the soil and remove the calcium oxide, then just dump it there. A lot of cavities are there. So even by doing that, actually we can improve the environment too, right? The second one. I told you. Now, I'm asking simple question.
Yes.
I'm asking simple question. Now, Colombo, you don't have land. You don't have land to dump this waste and not. As Mr. Gunasekara says, right? We have already identified. We realize that this landfill won't help us. It alone won't help us, right? Therefore, we need waste to energy project. So therefore we have done a lot of studies, and ministers and the secretary, myself, director waste management, you won't believe, more than 2 hours we are discussing. More than 2 hours, all we are discussing about this. And finally, right, we come to the conclusion that we need both. We need both. Not only 3 projects, we are going to start 5 projects. As Mr. Gunasekara says, right, you must have alternative landfill site. Because long-term projects, actually, you should have alternative.
How does the recycling take place?
Recycling, of course, if you take recycling process, it is 10% to 15%. We are talking only about 10%. The problem is actually now we are importing recycled items, say for example plastic.
What's going to happen to the recyclable garbage? What's going to happen to that?
No, recycling actually 10 to 15% you can recycle. There are recycle organizations.
So why doesn't the government, Mr. Suresh, open this up for a PPP, a private-public partnership?
Yeah.
Get a proper mechanism in place, get down some tenders, ask individuals whether they want to invest, because in countries like Japan, South Korea, there are many ministers who go. There are many provincial councils who have gone to these countries in public's money at the end of the day, but nothing has been done.
No, our 2 projects actually, right? Our 2 projects, you won't believe, we have called for EIA, 103 local companies and 19 international companies tendered.
Mr. Suresh, I have seen such reports during the last 12 years being a journalist.
No, we have selected 2 companies, they are from abroad. One is from Germany.
The report on provincial councils, on the electoral system never being implemented. We saw the reports that are coming through about the problem. Nothing has been done.
No, we are always talking about the past. Now we are doing, right? I will finish it. One company actually, IMS Holding, actually, German technology is brought for waste to energy. KCHT Private Limited, Korean company. You are talking about international, because now lack of technology we have. Therefore, we are bringing, as you said.
How much is the government spending money on this?
We are not spending. We are giving land only. We are land and waste only. We are giving. They are bringing the money. And
who is bringing the money? These private companies.
Private parties, right? I will tell you, because now everyone talk about waste to energy project. Waste to energy, you know the cost of the waste to energy project per metric ton, it is $70 US. Where if you transport this waste to Putlam, only $12. Right? You have to think economically. You have to think all
right.
these
So,
things.
Mr. Gunasekara, are these all feasible? Now, Mr. Suresh has wonderful ideas. He says that ministers have got together and formulated proposals. In my time as a journalist, I've seen many reports coming through. Let's talk about the Lessons Learned and Reconciliation Committee report compiled by experts. Has it been implemented? The answer is no. We saw Dinesh Gunawardhan report on electoral reforms. Has it been implemented? The answer is no. We've seen such reports coming into play every single time and nothing has been done. All these are great ideas. We're not in any way trying to...
It is not report. Actually, it is going to be implemented.
So tell me, is it all possible? Is it all possible?
We have already awarded.
Yes, is it all possible?
Shamir, may I put it this way? You know, we have been having this problem for over 22, 23 years. Now, whether we have done something about it, I doubt it. If you have come all this far, 23 years without doing anything, then this solution is not going to be that easy. It's going to be an uphill task. But the question here is, carriage of garbage from here to Putlam is not that easy. It's a very difficult exercise as to whether we have the wherewithal to go ahead and for how long. Don't think it's not going to stop in 1 year, 2, 3, no. It will go on for about 30 years. Is that possible?
Yes,
is something that somebody has to sit down and work out.
Yes,
with all my years of experience.
No, we have completed feasible study.
I think, just a minute, you are talking about there are two levels. The final disposal, the large scale infrastructure, yes, Minister of Megapolis. But the other questions you ask, who's going to separate, who's going to recycle,
Segregate.
that's a local authority.
Yes.
Now that if the Minister of Megapolis takes up the final disposal problem and does a proper job, actually they have started. Now the local authorities can do their job. Earlier they could not do their job because once they pick up, and if they don't have a place to send, suppose so you have a recycling program, you have public-private partnership to recycle plastics. Suddenly the market tanks. The price of plastics go down and nobody's buying. You need a place to send it. Earlier they did not have it. If the Minister of Megapolis does this, takes this initiative and carries it through for the next 2 years, and the local authorities have a place to send their whatever they cannot recycle, whatever they can treat, they need a place to send. If the ministry, if the national level, they provide that, local authorities can do their job.
Mr. Gunasekara, the overarching legal framework for the management of waste is found in the National Environmental Act number 47 of 1980 and its subsequent amendments. Now, we have a system, a proper legal framework where the policies, laws and regulations are distinguished at national level, then at provincial level and also at local government level. Now the Constitution also provides a responsibility on the state to ensure that the environment is properly looked after, etc. Now looking forward, how do we ensure that such preventable disasters such as the Mithotamula issue does not arise yet again? Do we need, as Mr. Suresh suggested, revisions or amendments to the existing law, or is it the implementation of these legal provisions that is the question?
Well, I feel the laws that are in promulgation at the moment is quite sufficient, but you may need to strengthen them as well. But the question here is not all that. The question here is, how do we go through this whole exercise? Because it's not an easy exercise at all. It's difficult. I must, in fairness to the Megapolis Ministry, they are doing their utmost to come out with a solution. But the question here is, when you look into the proposals put out by them as to whether they are workable over a long period of time is a question that keeps on lurking in my mind. It is not that easy, because I have been in this whole system for over 25 years, and I realize the magnitude of the problem.
Don't you think that the general public doesn't really have proper knowledge or awareness about how they need to dispose of garbage?
They do, but unfortunately in this country, even if you teach them every week, they still tend to forget. It's convenient to forget. It's easy to forget. That is exactly what has happened in this country.
It's not the public that forget, it's the local authority that forget.
Yeah, to some degree.
They forget to pick up.
Also.
They come one week and they don't come the next week. So it's not the public.
The question is
it should be a consistent program by media.
Yeah, it's a consistent
program. That is the one you have to support.
You have to do that.
You have to support us, right? So here actually we are going to request all the media actually awareness campaign for the public through print and electronic media, negotiation, implementation, mass scale. When we implement mass scale project, you see now we were talking about the long term project, but here local authorities representatives are not there, but we have continuously a meeting with them. So short term project now, see CMC, when actually UDA has written CMC to hand over this land more than now 6 months before, right? I'm not going to blame them, because then what they have done, they have called for lands for short term, because now when long term projects are successful, short term projects should be implemented immediately for 2 years. They have identified 3 lands, right? One was at Ekala. So when Ekala was started, so some NGOs people, everyone got together and started protesting. So everywhere protest goes, because if they come and if people should know, if they had known about the real scientific landfill site, right? Because ministry can't do this one alone. Therefore, media, we will give all the feasible reports. So you can take, actually, even we have videos. And
that's exactly what we're doing right now also.
Yes. You have to support us. You have to support us.
We are creating awareness. Yes. All the 4 in the panel says that we need to have a consistent program.
Yes.
But I strongly believe that we have to have consistent policy. Everyone in the government should act in one voice, whether it's a central environmental authority, whether it's the local authorities, whether it's the central government, whether it's provincial councils. There needs to be consistent policy at the end of the day. I recollect last year, the budget, the Minister of Finance said that money has been allocated, tabs would be given to students of Sri Lanka, just like that. Just you had the report, everything was implemented, tenders were called, so on and so forth. Has it been done? The answer is no. We don't want a whitewash anymore. We want to see consistent policy being implemented in this resplendent nation. We're going for a short commercial break. When we come back, it's Face the Nation, the final round. Stay connected, stay with us. We will be right back.